and we're so glad to have with us as well Simon, who led us a few of our lectures, Tuesday night lectures before the break last year. We trust everyone has had a great Christmas and everyone is staying safe along with this nasty COVID business. But as we are in the privileged position to be of the amateur radio community, we're all keeping in contact with each other through radio, through one means or another. And again, this is one of the things that was born out of that. So, without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Simon, who's waving his hands there.
I can't see myself.
And again, maybe Simon, you can start off with another wee introduction, just so there's a few people here that maybe don't know you, and we'll hand over to you.
Right. Now then, for some reason I can't see myself, but I'm sure you can see me. And you can hear me, can't you guys?
Yeah.
Excellent. Right. Okay. Right. Well, good evening all. And thanks for inviting me to give a presentation. Now, presentation, basically how to set up your amateur radio station, get the best out of it with what you've got anywhere in the world. Now, I've been fortunate that my hobby became my profession and vice versa. So I worked a bit too hard, unfortunately. But as for amateur radio, I've also been fortunate that I've traveled quite a bit, especially in the US and Canada and all of the UK and parts of Europe. And for most of those things, if not virtually all of them, except I must admit, there's decisions to be made when you get married. My wife did dream that I wouldn't attend the wedding because I was at a ham fest. And I must admit, on the plane going over to where we were going, I did note in the magazine there was a ham fest near, but I did decide there are certain things that you have to sort of, that could be one of those bad moves. But I've been very fortunate. I've had some good things. So, right. Yes, we could have lots of PowerPoints, and I have got some pictures which I put on PowerPoint slides and that just to remind me in that. But hopefully, what I'd hope to do for this evening is to give people some ideas and also a bit of encouragement and to help some of our newer radio licensees not become too despondent, but to actually sort of get the best out of their stations. I mean, all stations are different. I mean, I've got one here. Oh, no, that's an antenna. Somewhere underneath that lot is one of these little 30-pound portables. And I hope I will give you some ideas and some little things, even if it's just something like this. Do you know what this is, guys? Well, anybody? No, nothing back. But never mind. One of the great little things. Most transceivers have got their speaker, right, pointing upwards out the radio. Right, you're sitting here. Put this on the top. Suddenly, you can hear your the transceiver. Little things. Couple of pens, and great if you're doing things like exhibition stations where the public have to hear and you have to hear, and everything's getting a bit noisy. Right. Okay, I'll put that back. Let's get on to some of the other bits. So, I mean, you're setting up your station. Most of this will be for HF, but I will put some stuff on for VHF, UHF. But I will take questions at the end, and there are some references which are on the last one of the slides, and I can send into the club there. So just look quickly on. No, that'll stay there, right? You can see some antennas in the background there, right? That's all. Speed of view as well, right? I wonder if that comes up, right? Right, that's better, right? Okay. For some reason, you can all still see me, can't you? Right, that's okay. Right. Okay then. Right. Let's sorry about this, folks. I want to make this smaller. I am all right. That's what we want. Right. Right. Okay. Let me get into one of our starts. So that's the title. Right now in. My apologies here. This is going a bit pear-shaped. Now in. Right. Sort of things to think about for when you're setting up your station and that. What do people think is they would feel is their most important thing of their station? I've got everybody muted here.
The antenna.
Sorry?
The antenna.
Yeah. I mean, it is. And now, not everybody can have massive antenna systems and that, but it is the antenna system. And we as radio amateurs it's one of the big things which people actually spend a lot of their time building and whatever. It's also one of these things. There's a lot of I will call magic antennas and some slight reinventing of the wheel. Now, I've loaded up a metal bed spring and worked some stations, and also just put an antenna, just loaded up a radiator at the hub, and we worked into Belgium on 80 meters. So you can work around the world on not a lot of things. And a little bit like we did with the talk on top band last year, the better the antenna, more efficient, the better you have. Now, that's one of the things, right? What about the radio equipment itself? I mean, we can spend pennies on transceivers. We can spend many thousands, you know, sell your house and buy a radio, or that sort of thing. One of the things to bear in mind for a lot of things, and this is true for a lot of things in life, is that you can sort of get 90% of the contacts and the enjoyment and stuff like that for sort of like 10% of the price. As things start getting as things start getting you want more, you start having to pay more and new things. The other thing as well, there are limiting factors. Not all of us can have acres of land, and not all of us live in areas where there is no man-made noise or other noise. So in some ways it is pointless. I mean, where I live here, it is quite noisy. It's quite noisy. So in some ways it is pointless me having the best of everything running many kilowatts, because it isn't going to do me any good. I am sure if I ran a kilowatt here or to my license limit of 440 watts, everybody around here would know. I would be more Mr. Popular than usual. So you know, so that's something to think about. I did once have to deal with somebody who was, well, I was chatting to somebody and dealing with somebody with some other issues for work, and they were running a G5RV, a doublet antenna with a full legal limit in it, and that antenna was going over a number of neighbors' houses and that, and there was a lot of noise, a lot of interference going into the set, and a lot of stuff coming out, and it made you think, was that the best? So those are some things to think about. In Northern Ireland, you're fortunate in a way that quite a lot of stations have got quite either quite a large amount of land, or they're not all that close to everybody else. The density isn't the same as other areas of the world and other areas of the UK. Also, people are more tolerant of antennas, I note, than in other places. Antennas, right? Think of what antennas you want where. This was me. I had an apartment, and I thought, oh, we'll have some inside antennas. And I thought, I can't run legal limit because I know what the wiring's like in these places. Everybody would know. I thought, I'm going to do PSK 31 on 20 meters. So I made a magnetic loop antenna. That happened to be that bit of coax is a tuning capacitor, and just varying the braid there, changing the frequency. And it just so happened that actually tuned it in the middle of the PSK 31 frequency for 20 meters. Right, and it all worked, and it was great. Except I didn't think that I worked during the day. When I came back at night, especially in the winter, things like 20 meters didn't work. So I had to sort of think again. So I ended up having loops for 80 meters and 14, and they worked a treat. Now then, let's see what we got there. Here's something else that you can know. An NVIS antenna, literally a 20 meter bit of wire. It was from the back of my camper van. I was doing a rainet thing in mid Wales, and we needed some NVIS because you couldn't work. And it's literally was on the gutter mount on the back of the vehicle, and just up to a high point, and then back down again, and it worked a treat. A couple of watts, did what I want. Or you could have something like this. Have your magnetic loop on your VW camper van. I must admit, my wife would have killed me if I'd done that to our one. But you know, those are the sort of things you can do. The main thing for your antennas is to make sure that they radiate as best as possible. I mean, they should resonate. Don't worry so much about the VSWR of the antenna, but you need to make your measurements at the feed point of the antenna. Remember, if you're using coax or other form of line, that can either be part of the antenna, or you will get different measurements. So if you remember when I did my presentation on top band, I made the measurements at the feed point of the antenna, and those made all the difference there. So here's something, say for 2 and 70. This is basically a dipole for 2 meters with a dipole for 70 cents in parallel. That got me out quite well, actually. So those are the sort of things. If you've got something like one of these 30 quid handhelds, which is hiding down here. Oh, there it is. All right. I mean, you know, some people will look at these. Let's get rid of that, so it's easier to hold. I mean, for the price, they're brilliant. I mean, the only snag is if somebody breaks into your car, just nick one of those. It's a, you know, in the old days, if you had your rig nicked from a car, well, it's okay because it was many hundreds of pounds, and you know, the damage was that. But you know, a new window for a price of 30 quid is not the thing. They're not the best performers technically. They are a bit suspect. That I note that the ARRL stopped banned advertising of them in its magazine after they did some tests at at Dayton one year. But so little things, if you've got something like that, what can you do with these? Well, add an external antenna, add one of the better antennas, and one of these microphones to them. I mean, yes, you've got repeaters, you've got Echo Link and things like that. I've used this for getting SSTV from the International Space Station. One of the a couple of years ago, it was one of those poetic things where the space station was coming across the anniversary of the Russian space flight, and they were doing their SSTV, but at exactly the same time, the alternator transmitter SAQ in Sweden was doing its yearly transmission. And I was literally recording on this with my phone on that and using the computer as a receiver to receive the although yes, in the past you could make a receiver for the SAQ, which is on 17.9 kilohertz. Amazingly, if you go to their website, you can use your computer's audio section to do it, because I use the USB one, but most will go up to 20 kilohertz without any problem. And all I had to do was literally put a bit of wire into the audio input. And I was surprised because I thought, oh, I was just hearing noise. And then I started hearing some Morse, and they had to change the frequency slightly. So I heard this tone suddenly change in frequency whilst they were tuning it up. And so at the same time, I got the recording of that. So it's quite easy to do lots of things in amateur radio. And you can go mobile. That's my mobile. That was my mobile. Yes, it does have a log periodic on it. So for the question of the UHF VHF log periodic, that's what that is on the front. I managed to buy one of these. They're very heavy, but log periodics are very good antennas for, they haven't got much gain. They got very wide frequency, but you get a very good known response for them. And we would use these for receiving and transmission, and also for measuring. And that's what I had on my vehicle, which was quite good, was very good, except one day when one radio club said to me, "Oh, you're in the area, why not pop along? We've got a fox hunt tonight." And I said, "Do you really want me to go?" And I turned up, put the mask, I said, "The fox is over there." And they said, "You can't enter," because with the mast on that, you could just turn it around and just, measure where the signals were coming from, say it's over there and it's about this distance and that. That was quite a busy day, that was. I'd flown up to Scotland at 5 in the morning. I got diverted, I think that was about 10 o'clock, on my way to check something out. And that was where I discovered the real effects of meteor scatter. At the time there, the digital audio broadcasting, DAB, had just started, and there were very few transmitters in the UK. The only one in Scotland was it wasn't at Blackhill, it was across the road at Kirkashotts. And I'd been listening to it. I'd left the radio on. Now, from where I went there, I had to go up to Oban and then over to Fort Augustus to open up a new station in the early hours of the morning. On the way from Oban to Fort Augustus, it was pitch black and, getting late. And there was a fireball. I saw a fireball. And then my radio fired up with all the DAB services, because I just left it just on. And for about 10 seconds, I picked up the National DAB services. So, you know, that's one way, one thing that you can another way of you know, working stations and that. So right, so we've got your antennas, we've got your equipment. Now I'll just do a little bit more on antennas, and I'm sure you'll have loads of questions asked afterwards. There's what I call magic antennas. Now, if I do stop share on this, yeah. Right, now we're back to whatever. Right, get ready for that down the bottom. Right, magic antennas. Well, there's lots of them about. Some of them I've actually had to test for real. Now here's one magic antenna. Does anybody recognise this? One of my best purchases at the Hamfest in Newark last time I was there. Yeah, if you can find the advertising literature for it, and I looked one up for the shortwave mag in something like about 1967, and this was one of the ones which sort of said,
"Oh joy,
yeah, joy and a joy match." Right, now then, this is the thing on this, right? It does work. I mean, it does work. I mean, when I bought it, took it down to the Finningley Radio Club, and we just chucked it in a room, literally chucked it on the floor, plugged it up, plugged the transmitter up, used the reverse beacon network, and sent a signal out. Then used the club equipment on the club antennas, and we got the difference. Now, you can look the joystick antenna up, and if you look on the on the RSGB in Radcom, look in the old editions, you'll suddenly, and some of their antenna books, you'll suddenly come across this thing, TFH antenna, and they all go on this thing. It's and you read instructions that it's the wire, which is meant to be the feeder, then into this pole, which is, you know, with a coil in it, and they'll always sort of say that the single wire is acting as the feeder, and that's the antenna. Well, that single wire is radiating, because they always sort of say you've got to feed it from the top, and some of the copies feed it from the bottom and say, oh, you can feed it from the bottom. And when I had a good look at that, I suddenly realized what it reminded me of. And actually, it's really a long wire antenna with a loading coil near the end. Now, some people could say, if you get the lengths right, it's yet another thing, the magical, what's it, N-fed half wave, or N-fed half wave long wire, multiple long wire, because you've got your ATU at the end of it. I haven't had much success with it, but for £2, and it just caught my eye. It's brilliant, because actually that is in mint condition, and of course it's the gold version, so it's the gold standard, right? So yeah, so as you say, antennas, right? Sorry, whoops, what's happened there then? Somebody's launched a meeting. Ah, I see. Yes. Right. So now another antenna, which seems to somehow, these things, it must be relatively easy to get patents. The famous, anybody heard of the Crossfield?
Oh, yes.
Antenna? Yeah. Well, one day, my boss came into the office and handed me this thing. And I thought he had built it himself. He'd gone down to a well-known store, B&Q or Home Depot, use the same things. You know, what's it? We can build it. What's it? You can build it. You can, no, what's it? You can do it if you can, whatever. But for the other one, it's we can help. They even use the same colors. Now, if you go into both places, all the things are in the same places now, which is great. But he bought me in this antenna, and I thought he'd built it, and he said, "No, we bought it. Can you test it?" And it was one for top band. You can imagine what it was for. It was at a time when it was thought in the UK that we'd have a lot more medium wave stations, and nobody wants was 150-foot masts in their back garden, and it was thought this thing could do it. Well, it didn't do it very well. Interestingly, I was trying to look up the results of some of our other tests, and I found a tests done by a company from the Isle of Man with Arkiva a couple of years ago, but I still have my slight suspicions because some of the things which we found at that time, we were glad that it wasn't us paying. But I think the Wikipedia feature on CFAs, cross-field antennas, I think is fair. You can't get out for now, as they say. So on antennas, you want to check that they are actually working. And when I say working, but you're happy with them. Try and learn what you know, how they should work, and see if you've got something that you can compare it with, measure it with. If you are putting antennas in, yes, that's that's one of them. Yeah, well, we did actually take that one apart. It was one of those ones. Now then, right, I'll go back because, right, let's go back because these were just to give me ideas and I didn't put them in an order. So sorry about this, folks. You might, right. Well, we've seen these, but you've got different types of antennas. These are vertical antennas. This is Droitwich and medium wave and long wave. So you can see why people wouldn't necessarily want those in their back garden. Now, okay, so right, that's the end of it. Right, now on antennas, and it gets more important on things like VHF 2 meters 70 sounds. Use the right polarization for the mode which you're working. A lot of people will have collinear antennas up. I have one, and yes, it'll work fine for FM and other modes and certain bits for satellite and that. But for SSB and some other longer distance modes, it is best to have the same polarization. Now, yes, there are some polarization twists and that, and if you're using certain weak signal modes, you will get reception and you will get transmission. But I have measured it, and it's theoretically meant to be 23 dB difference, which is 200 times the difference if you've got the wrong polarization. So, and you can show it yourself. I mean, just work somebody, even if you've got, say, horizontal antennas, go onto FM, go onto relative low power and work somebody on one of these handhelds. right? And there'll be it might be a fairly weak signal, you know, but get them to tip their handheld on the side so they're the same polarization as you, and you will notice a difference. The other thing on these sort of things, if you want to make a slight improvement, yes, go from a little rubber duck to the quarter wave antenna, but just get a little bit of wire and have a quarter wave of wire just dangling down the side on both 2 and 70 sounds, and it'll make that difference. In the old days, some hand portables were tuned to your hand. So certain burn depth transceivers, when you set them up, you had to put them in a stand, which is like a hand, and that's how you could tune them up. And you had to do them like that because when you took them away, everything just went wrong. So, okay, so we've got these. How do we know that our signal's getting anywhere? Well, there's great things nowadays. There's the internet. There's lots of SDR remote online receivers, and you can record contests, for instance. One great thing, something the RSGB do, and I'm sure you can get them in other ones. You enter some of the contests, you put in all your contest details, and it's put on a map, and you've got an idea how your antenna's doing. Now, I mean, this is a 3-element quad for 2 meters. And a friend of mine, Martin, quickly built one up. It's at about 4 meters above the ground because he wanted to specifically get some signals from one direction, which he couldn't get with his other antenna. So this antenna got him with his 25 watts. That was his. Sorry about that. This is what he got with it in this direction here, because that was pointing in, if I've got that right, in that direction. And he was quite happy before he set it up for another contest. As he said, he got his Italy Oscar 90 square from, he's up here, as you can see up there, it's Scunthorpe, near Hull there. So okay, now bit more, the other, right, yeah, okay. The other thing you can do, which is great with the internet now, and this is something I quickly dug up for tonight, is you can actually download, there's lots of places where which measure what propagation is on HF, VHF, UHF, whatever. This is a good site which I tend to use, which is the Australian government website. Now, lots of other people have got websites now. Most major countries have got them. You can even get them from the RSGB as well. And what we've got here, it shows that for around the UK tonight and parts of Europe, your best bands to be on now are basically top band if you want to work around the UK. If you want to work into Europe, 80 meters by the looks of things. A little bit further away, 40 meters. And as you can see on the next one, it's just giving you an idea for a larger area. So you can say from midday today, if you wanted to work around the UK, it was 7 megs. Now this is based from London, but you wouldn't have worked much close into London. You have to go down to 80 meters, and if you were trying to expect to work a long way on 80 meters, you wouldn't. If you wanted interesting, you can see there's a hop on 40 meters as well. You've got I don't know if you can see it. You got this bit here, and then you got that. So you can see the hops there. So let's get back to, so we've done those, we've done that. So okay, so you do want to have a look, think about what you want to do, where you want to do it. How many people do contests? Quite a few. Yeah. How many people don't like contests? I haven't heard anybody, but I guess, you know, it's like Marmite, isn't it? You either like them or you hate them. Now, contests can be awful and they can be good. What contests are good for is absolutely nothing. No, what contests are good for is that actually you can work countries or stations which you wouldn't normally work because people have put the effort in. They're either at those places or they want to work you because you're rare. Okay. But also it can give you an idea of how your antenna system and how your station is performing. Now, we've said things like the reverse beacon network, and you can do that. And lots of people use Whisper and other modes to do it. But that's one of the good things on it. Now, I will agree with everybody that where you've got contests which are just computer logging and you just have to give that 5.9 when it's not 5.9, that doesn't help. And if it seems there's about 17 contests all on at the same day and you can't seem to go anywhere, it seems to happen on certain weekends and you go, ugh. But there are lots of other things you can do. The other things on contests, and if I am going to, okay, right. This is my favorite contest. It's about one of the only ones I really go in for. And it took me about 12 years actually to work out how you did it. This is a contest where you have to get it 100% correct, right? If you do not get the exchanges 100% correct, you both lose. And the last time I did it, which was the year before last, I actually lost by one contact, which in one way was quite annoying. In another way was good, because on the first day, I'd managed 2 contacts and I was really doing badly. And I was thinking, I've flown halfway across the world. I'm really messing it up. I want to go home, right? So now then, for those people who do not know what the ARRL sweepstakes are, it's a contest. One's in CW. I do the SSB because my CW is awful, right? And what it's about, there's a specific exchange, pardon me, there's a specific exchange, and it has to be done in a set order, and you both contacts have got to get it 100% correct, right? You can't make it up. But what the exchange is basically the serial number, so that's the number of the contact. What your power level is, or what your entering is. Now, for me, I go is QRP, so that's 5 watts. The date of my license, right? So for America, it's 96. That's when I got my last full license there. So it's 96. And the state district that you're in. So for me, I'm normally in Utah. So my exchange is you have to, and you have to give the person's complete call sign. So in a way, you're repeating what they've done. So mine could be let's say W0SD, who's normally, I think it's W7SD, who's normally in South Dakota. And I would, it would be something like 001 Q 906 Uniform Tango, Utah, right? And the other person's got to do that right, and then it's complete. And you've got to work all the sections, which I think are now 86 because they added a new one, 85, 86 because they added a new one this year. Now, I am fortunate that two things. Always, if you're going to go, I go portable, so I'm truly portable, and you also have to get the timings right as well. And it took me a long time to find out that the timing is done at the end of the QSO, not at the beginning. So if it takes a long time to get that QSO, it's still the end. Now it's fine if you're using a computer keyboard because you just hit go and it puts a timestamp on it. But I have to do it by literally writing it down. Two reasons: interference from computers and me being totally dyslexic. No, actually, unfortunately, I am very, and I only found out in the last 10 years, which is frightening, but it makes me understand why I'm good at some things and absolutely rubbish at others. Now, so for that, it's taken me a while, but I've started winning it. I've won it a couple of times on this, and I actually came 8th in the whole of the UK and Canada, because it's open to the only UK and Canada, not UK, US and Canada. So, okay, so after starting it off, and I just put up, I found somewhere nice to go, and because it's portable, I also say if you're going somewhere, pick somewhere nice to go, because if it all goes wrong, at least you're somewhere nice. You know, there's a nice view. There's a, you know, you don't feel, as happened unfortunately once many years ago in Northern Ireland, when I went portable and I brought all this kit over, and I ended up in a rare QRA locator in a bog, and I worked one station on FM, and I had 100 watts, 13 element toner, my vehicle, all of that, and I worked somebody down your neck of the woods. Portadown, that was it. I remembered it was one station in Portadown. I thought I spent all day getting to this place. It's damp, it's cold. I worked one station. You know, I should have gone on the beach. So now for this, it's got to a point now where you actually have to plan it. So I've picked I picked the location which I go to that not many people live there. So it's rare. So people actually want to work you. You know, you're one of their last people they want. Also, by working out the distances to all the other places gives you an idea of antennas. And I've had to change right, where is it? Where did I put it? Sorry about this, folks. There we go. Right. That's what I want. From current slide. Yeah, you've got all that there, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Right. Now, my antenna is a 500-foot.
Simon, sorry, I'm just conscious of time here because we're going on to 10 past 8 now. So
right, okay. Well, yeah, I was thinking then. I was thinking, what's the time? How's it go? Right, okay. So look, plan your antennas if you want the things. Always have more than one, right? And as you can see on this, you get an idea how that worked on 20 meters, and I needed all the RF going that way. So I ended up making up another antenna for that as well. And for 40 meters, yeah, it worked, but most of it is going upwards. So, okay, look, what I will do, I will apologize to you all, right? I don't think there's anything else there to see. There's some references there. I will, if it's okay, I will take questions and answers, and that might make it a much better thing. Okay. So should I stop share? Yeah, you can do it for me. So look, apologies, folks. A total mess up there. Do it in style. Do it for the world. But I'll take some questions. We might be a bit more specific, okay? And I've got some stuff here to show if anybody wants. So back to you there, Dave.
Feel free, folks, if anyone has any questions there for Simon or any points on.
That bad, huh?
I've got one.
From
yeah, go for it.
PFC.
So yeah, Terry, I think you just nipped Peter to the post there. If you ask your question, then Peter, if you come in straight after, that would be great.
Okay. Thank you, Simon, very much. And I had to smile about the joystick and the joy match. I've got two things about that. One is that the Medway Club, the Marts, did an antenna shootout back in the 60s, and the results were published. Now, the joystick came well down on every contact that we had except one, which we had from the North Kent coast down to Australia, where it easily beat the living daylights out of everything else. This was not explainable, but it was reported. And what was picked up was the fact that we said that on every other occasion it was so poor. And I believe that the club was threatened with some sort of legal action. Anyway, that's one small story about the joystick. The other is I found a joy match in one of the risers at Television Centre. What was I doing in a riser, I'll not say, but there it was, this little soap dish with the joy match in it, and I thought, that's not been seen the light of day for a very long time. I'd better have that. Nobody ever came out from behind woodwork, so I still have it, and that must be back in the 70s, maybe the 80s. Simon, thank you. I'm so sorry. I must go. I've got a family commitment. Thank you very much, Dave, for running it.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks there, Terry, and thanks for your patience as well.
Peter, go ahead.
All right, Roger. Yeah, lovely. I was particularly impressed by the idea of going to nice places. Do you have a short list that you'd like to share with us?
I won't say for my for my sweepstakes, because that's for me. Although I discovered that the last time I was there, I had an idea, because I have to ask permission to be there, that they'd sold the land, which I was a bit peeved, because if I'd known they were selling it, because they sold it for such a low value, I would have put in an offer, actually. No, some good places, right. Good places. I do the IOTA from Great Cumbria, believe it or not, which is just off, which is on the Scottish coast. It's technically in the Clyde, opposite Largs. Mainly because it's easy to get to, and I found that the road runs all along the sea edge all the way round, and there's parking spaces, and you can park next to the sea, literally next to the sea, and your antenna is literally next to the sea, and sometimes the antenna is actually in the sea. Now, the only slight problem with that is it is very popular. And unfortunately, over the last few years, with more people sort of what I call either taking their vans over or whatever, sometimes it can be a bit busy, or what is a sad thing is the amount of rubbish and the amount of people who decide to have their open fires. You know, that's one of the big things. That's a good place. I have one near home, which is near Blaenavon, up near the Bloringe, up on the top of the mountains there. It's easy to get to. It's got good views. Lots in the States. One of my favorites is actually Rainbow Peak in Bryce Canyon. Lovely to go to in just after dawn, because it's very, very quiet. You can see for 150 miles, and there's only just 2 crows there, so it's quite silent. Unfortunately, although they have the mountain, the convention there, they don't like radio amateurs actually in the park, as I discovered. And that's why, although they've had national parks on the air, and I've done them over there, another favorite place, a lot of mine are in the States, is actually at Arches National Park, Moab. And you might have, when I was flicking through, you could see one of the screens here. If I just go to that a moment, I'll just share that a moment. Come on, let's see if it goes backwards, forwards. There, whoops, there. There you go, guys. It's a great walk up, and do a little bit from there. That's an 817 in its complete pack. I mean, let's get this out. If I go back out of share, stop share, right, that goes back to there. You see, here's the complete station there. Now I've put it in one of these boxes now, but that is my which one is it? Right, obviously I didn't pack it very well the last time, is that is a complete station, and that's in a cassette holder. That now this other one, actually that carries a power supply and an auto ATU and a few odds and sods, but that's what I take. The other places, if you have a chance, is the Alaskan Highway in the Yukon. And that is somewhere definitely to have your amateur radio. Although they've got linked repeaters throughout the Yukon and Alaska. When you see signs saying no 911 for the next sort of like 600 miles, and there isn't anything, and you see some burnt out vehicles, you go, that, you know, that's great. And one thing on antennas, mobile antennas work. You know, if you can't put up a massive HF antenna, something like the equivalent of a bug catcher antenna, you know, an HF mobile, where a friend of mine wanted to work a special event station, didn't have 80 meters, quickly heard that station, phoned up a friend said, look, I've got a bug catcher here, all the bits. He quickly grabbed that, a mag mount, put it on his car, tuned it up, and worked that station. Yeah, not a strong signal, but it was better than most. So I like things with good views. By the sea is very good because of propagation and how the sea affects, especially HF and that. It does affect VHF and above. In work, we actually made a we flooded the rose garden with salt water so we could measure. Yeah, it was flooded, so that we could measure propagation across salt water, and that's why the it'll be Arizeg VHF transmitters is only vertically polarized for national radio because of for better propagation across the water to the various islands around Mallaig and Arizeg.
There you go.
It was then turned into 2 croquet lawns afterwards.
What about the roses?
Well, I don't think people were too worried about that. It was, I mean, I had a Radio Shack, which was a shack. It was a shed in the middle of the antenna field. So, you know, the measuring field. So it was great. You know,
Well, Simon, thanks for
Anyway.
joining us this evening. It's been very interesting there.
my
The next-
apologies. It was quite appalling, but
No, you're great. You're great. The next Tuesday night lecture is the 26th, and I'm just going to share a wee.
Fantastic.
You see that? Steve Shirley, who's going to be talking to us on emergency comms and his 30-year history in the Met police station involved with emergency comms. So that's going to be the 26th, and hopefully it'll be great, and it'll be very interesting. And he did say, would you just like to go for 45 minutes or an hour? So I knew we were a good bunch, and we says, oh, I'm sure, you know, we can have a cup of tea beside us and go for the hour. So if you are along on that 4th Tuesday of the month here, do tune in and catch us on the YouTube channel after if you can't make it in person. youtube.com/MUARC media. And until next time, don't feel as if you just have to rush away now. But until next time, we'll catch you later. 7-3.